ইংরেজিতে বলবেন এবং এই তিনজন বক্তা পরপর বলবেন। প্রথমে আমি বলেই দিই একদম এটা যেভাবে নির্ধারণ করে রেখেছি। প্রথমে কবিতা কৃষ্ণন বলবেন, তারপরে অরিত চক্রবর্তী এবং শেষে বিতান ভৌমিক। আরেকটা কথা আমি আজই বলে রাখি যে বিতান ভৌমিক যেহেতু আমাদের সংগঠনের লোক, সেই জন্য এই কথাটা বলার দরকার যে বিতান ভৌমিক যা বলবে সেটা কিন্তু বিতান ভৌমিকের বক্তব্য। আমাদের সঙ্গে মানে আমাদের সংগঠনের সঙ্গে তার খুব বিরোধ আছে তা নয়, কিন্তু ছোটখাটো প্রতিটা কথা নিয়ে আমরা কিন্তু তাকে কোনো জেরা করিনি। আমাদের কাছে কোনো রকম পাঠ দিয়ে তারপরে সেখানে ভর্তি হতে আসেনি এবং পরবর্তীকালে তার যদি কিছু ত্রুটি বিচ্যুতি থাকে তার জন্য কোনো রকম নিন্দা প্রস্তাব আমরা গ্রহণ করব না। কাজেই পুরোটাই বিতানের বক্তব্য। আগে তিনজন বলুক, বলার পরে তারপরে আমরা প্রশ্নোত্তর পর্বে যাব। আমরা প্রত্যেক বক্তাকে 30 মিনিট করে বলবার সুযোগ দেব এবং এই 30 মিনিটের পরে 3:30 হচ্ছে কি 1.5 ঘন্টা। 1.5 ঘন্টার পরে আমরা সবাইকে প্রথমে প্রশ্নোত্তর করতে বলবো, মানে একজন করে প্রশ্ন করবেন এবং প্রশ্ন শেষে বক্তারা জবাব দেবেন। তারপরে যদি সুযোগ থাকে তখন হট্টগোল করা যেতে পারে। ঠিক আছে? এখন আমি কবিতা প্রশ্নোত্তর বলতে কথাটা না বলে বরঞ্চ আলাপ আলোচনা, আমি সেটা তো পরে বলবো আরেকবার, যে প্রশ্ন মানে শুধু প্রশ্ন করার অধিকার নয়, কিন্তু তাদের নিজস্ব মত তারা প্রশ্ন না করে শুধুমাত্রই নিজের মতটাকেই হাজির করতে পারে। তবে কতটা সময় আমাদের হাতে থাকবে তার উপর নির্ভর করছে তাকে কতটা সময় দেওয়া যাবে। আমি কবিতা কৃষ্ণকে বলবার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি।
আগেই বলবো মজদুর মুক্তিকে ধন্যবাদ, আমাকে এখানে চান্স দিয়েছে। তো আমি on this topic I've gotten a chance to speak, and I'm going to start by making a provocative point right in the beginning. I'm going to say, today's topic is democracy and socialism. And I'm going to say I'm not going to talk about socialism. Not worried about socialism. I'm going to talk about democracy. That's it. I have said it. Now, whoever wants, they can take that clip and they can say that, okay, this proves, look, Kavita is talking only about capitalism, she is only talking about bourgeois democracy. See, she has stopped worrying about socialism. So right in the beginning, I want to say that when I say democracy, if someone hears capitalism and bourgeois, that says a lot about what they think about socialism, what their idea of socialism is. So I don't want to say anymore. I just want to start by saying, okay, let's try and talk about what is democracy. What does democracy mean? Well, I think that, there's this abstraction of democracy as it is dictated by America and the West. These values of democracy, values of human rights, which are supposedly universal. They're actually American values that have been imposed on the rest of the world. And instead of these universal values, in the name of democracy, we should be demanding that there is so many plural civilizations, so many diverse places, diverse histories all over the world, and everybody should have the right to define democracy in their own ways, to define democracy according to their people's needs. And we should not say any kind of imposition by the West we should be rejecting. And all over the world today, we can see a diverse variety of countries across political boundaries, across geographical boundaries, uniting to overthrow the hegemony of this false notion of the rules-based order which has been imposed by the West, which has been imposed by America. Did you agree? If you agreed with what I said, I just request you maybe raise your hand. Did you agree? Did you like what I said?
Are
No.
you applying some precondition before your statement?
What?
Are you willing to apply some precondition on us?
No precondition. None at all. No precondition. Please tell us what you think. What...
Let it be open.
It's open. It's open. I'm leaving it open, in fact, so that you get a chance to say something. But I said something very passionate. I asserted something about the meaning of democracy. I used certain words. I used democracy in a certain sense. And I'm asking whether it sounded familiar to you. Never mind. I won't ask you whether you agree or disagree. Let me ask you whether it sounded familiar to you. Did you feel that you have heard it? Yes? Yes. So did you feel that, and when you heard it, did you feel that you have heard it from our friends, from people who are concerned about democracy? You did? I can see some people saying yes, maybe not all of you. But I do want to say this right in the beginning. I want to tell you that the words you heard, that's not my words. They are not what I am asserting at all. But what I said may be something many of us have said many times without really thinking about how those words are being used. Today, that thing that I told you, if you look at the piece of paper that you have in your hand, you will find that this is the language which is used by a very strange combination of people. It is being used by Vladimir Putin. It is being used by Donald Trump. It is being used by Xi Jinping. It is being used by Modi and Jaishankar and Amit Shah. It is being used by Vijay Prashad, who is a very well-known Marxist, very well-known left intellectual, probably close to an Indian left party, CPM, and he is a very, very prominent voice on the left in the world. So how come this combination of things, this idea that democracy and human rights, the universal values of democracy and human rights, are basically nothing but a universalization of American values. ये सब सिर्फ अमेरिका का चीज है जो बाकी देश पे सब पूरी दुनिया पे थोप दिया है। ये जो आइडिया है, ये कौन कौन लोग बोल रहा है? हमारे देश में अभी जस्ट कुछ ही दिन पहले हमने सुना जयशंकर को, जो मिनिस्टर ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स हैं, he said just now after that BBC documentary, he said exactly this. He said, who are these Western countries to speak about democracy? Who are they to tell us? Who are they to judge us? They have a president who won't accept that he has lost. Look at him. उनके यहाँ तो डेमोक्रेसी इतना कमजोर है कि क्या इलेक्शन का रिजल्ट ही नहीं मानना चाहता लोग. तो वो हमको कौन होता है लेक्चर देने के लिए? Who are they to dictate democracy to us? They themselves have a colonial history. वो तो हमारे ऊपर ब्रिटिश राज चलाया. आज आकर के हमको बता रहा है ब्रिटिश राज खत्म हो गया. We are not going to listen to you. So when they phrase it in this way, they are appealing to a whole range of people, and they are doing it in a very what is missing in this story? Think about it. All that I said, or all that has been said here, that democracy, these human rights, they're an excuse for dictating to countries, an excuse for regime change, an excuse for overthrowing countries you don't like. There has been, who are these Western countries? They have slavery, they have genocide. All perfectly true, absolutely true. But what is missing is that democracy is not just something which, which the America is or the West is universalizing. there is a universal demand for democracy by people all over the world. There is no country in which people say we don't want democracy. And when people in a country say democracy, they broadly mean something that everyone can understand. डेमोक्रेसी शब्द जब लोग यूज करते हैं तो आमतौर पे समझ में आता है कि भाई ब्रॉडली हम किस चीज से मायने रखते हैं। एंड वहां कहने की जरूरत है कि डेमोक्रेसी के बारे में वेस्ट नहीं बोल सकता जब ये बोलते हैं ना व्लादिमीर पुतिन। मैं बता रही हूं आपको, आपके पास जो रखा हुआ है, यू जस्ट लुक एट द वर्ड्स देयर। आई हैव नॉट पुट द नेम्स आर नॉट देयर, बट द फर्स्ट इज पुतिन, देन देयर इज पुतिन एंड जी जिनपिंग, एंड देन देयर इज जी जिनपिंग, and then there is Vijay Prashad, and there is Amit Shah. Lot of quotes are there, and they are all saying something similar. So in that story, what they are trying to say is that because these countries, Western countries, have double standards, there should be no standards. Because they have been undemocratic and racist, there should be no democracy at all. That means democracy is all of sham. Democracy is a sham, human rights is a sham. But democracy and human rights may be a sham when Western countries' head says it, when the nation state says it. But when the people in that country, whether it be West, whether it be anywhere else, when they are struggling for democracy, you are minusing them completely. In fact, whether it is Putin or whether it is our friend Jaishankar or Amit Shah, they are happy to say that look, Trump is undemocratic, or West is racist, America is racist. But are they supporting the people who are fighting against racism there or against Trump? Far from it. They are fans of Trump. Jaishankar and his party, they love Trump. Putin loves Trump. So that the point is that they are not talking about people's movements there. Instead, they are saying that people all over the world, the majority of the people, whether it is in the West or other countries, they all are rejecting this Western elite's definition of democracy. So, I think that we have to notice something that is happening all over the world. And it is being packaged in a certain way so anti-democracy is being packaged as, in anti-imperialism. So anti-imperialism is being used as a code by the far right, by authoritarians, as equivalent to anti-democracy. And what is being used as the equivalent of democracy? They are saying, so what they're doing is they're saying imperialism means it's all democracy. And what is multipolarity? They are saying multipolarity is not this Western imposition, it is against imperialism, and that is the real democracy. That is what they are saying. And it is very important to hear this, because I think that we are living in a time when words are being deprived of meaning. We are listening to the words, but we are all hearing different things. We are not really hearing what is being said. And I, being a literature student, I was always taught to read words very carefully, to read what is being said between the lines, not just listen to some familiar words and think, okay, this is the broad impression. Beyond the broad impression, what is being said. And I think that is what, what these people are saying, what the tyrants of the world are saying, including Putin, including Xi, including Modi, including Trump. They are saying that each civilization, each big power in the world, that has a right a democratic right, to decide its own internal character without any interference from outside, without any attempt to hold it accountable to some universal values of democracy, human rights. वो क्या कह रहे हैं? वो कह रहे हैं कि इस दुनिया में जितने तरह के सिविलाइजेशंस हैं, देश हैं, उन सबको राइट होना चाहिए, डेमोक्रेटिक राइट, कि वो लोकतंत्र का डेफिनेशन, वो अपना इंटरनल कैरेक्टर कैसे होगा, देश के अंदर का कैरेक्टर कैसे होगा, वो अपने से तय करें. बाहर का कोई ताकत को नहीं बोलना चाहिए कि भाई ये डेमोक्रेटिक है वो नहीं है, और आपको ये यूनिवर्सल वैल्यूज को आप वायलेट कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे हैं, किसी को नहीं बोलना चाहिए। इसमें जो प्रॉब्लम है कि व्हेन you have an answer to this. On the other hand, you see that when the far right, when the authoritarians are saying this, जो उत्पीड़क है ये बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन जिसको उस उत्पीड़न से लड़ना है, we who are supposed to be fighting that kind of far right, fighting fascists, fighting for democracy, we say, in spite of, regardless of the internal character, we need to have these multiple poles, and it doesn't matter what the internal character is. That is not as important. Whether that is or whether that is not, whether the country is fascist or democratic or totalitarian or whatever, the fact that they exist, the fact that Russia, China exist is important in spite of whatever their politics is. And Trump, whether it is Trump or Biden, it doesn't matter. They have to exist as a balancing power to America. So America, Russia, China, that is important, irrespective of who is ruling America, who is ruling Russia, who is ruling China, what is their internal politics. So there is a divide between internal character and external politics. So what is the meaning of this? What is happening is that as a result of that, you know what, let me give you a simple example. That when Mr. Vijay Prashad says that, oh, these countries are uniting against American hegemony and US values which are supposed to be, you know, why should the whole world accept them? One example he gives is very interesting. He says that in these countries that are uniting, there is a group of friends for the UN, defense of the UN Charter. He names that group. And in that he says, look, Russia and China are so different, but they are uniting, and that is a very great thing. And then he says, Iran and Venezuela are uniting, and Iran has some differences on social policies with Venezuela. थोड़े से कुछ सामाजिक विषयों पे वेनेजुएला से फर्क है, पर फिर भी दोस्ती बना रहा है यूएन चार्टर को बचाने के लिए। क्या मतलब है इसका? यूएन चार्टर में क्या लिखा हुआ है? यूएन चार्टर में लिखा हुआ है कि महिलाओं को जो है वो बिना सर ढके बाहर नहीं जा सकते, नहीं तो मार डालेंगे, वो लिखा हुआ है। क्या बकवास है ये कि यूएन चार्टर को वो कह रहे हैं हम डिफेंड कर रहे हैं, और उत्पीड़न को वो कह रहे हैं दिस आर सम सोशल पॉलिसीज। तो सोशल और पॉलिटिकल में, सोशल और जियोपॉलिटिकल में, इंटरनल डेमोक्रेसी में, इंटरनल ह्यूमन राइट्स में, और एक्सटर्नल जियोपॉलिटिकल डेमोक्रेसी में ये पूरी तरह से डिफरेंस आ रहा है। और ये जो बात था कि रिगार्डलेस ऑफ इंटरनल कैरेक्टर, ये खुद मैं जिस पत्रिका को एडिट करती थी, मैं जिनसे मैंने डेमोक्रेसी और सोशलिज्म की बातें सीखा, वो उसमें लिखा हुआ है। तो मेरा ये जो, मैं बहुत परेशान हूं इस चीज से, आई फील वेरी डिस्टर्ब्ड at this strange division between internal and external, between these kinds of variations, social and geopolitical, internal politics and geopolitics. मैं ये बताना चाहती हूं कि एक एग्जाम्पल लीजिए, अभी जो रशिया कर रहा है यूक्रेन के साथ, इट इज डूइंग इट इन द नेम ऑफ अखंड रशिया बनाना। एग्जैक्टली जैसे भारत में हमारे संघ वाले कह रहे हैं कि अखंड भारत बनाएंगे, वो अखंड रशिया, ये अखंड भारत, पोस्टर लगाया उन्होंने। और उसी समय मैंने देखा, और रशिया क्यों कह रहा है, पुतिन बहुत समय से, अभी से नहीं, काफी मैंने 10 साल से ज्यादा हो गया, पुतिन लिख रहा है, कह रहा है बार बार, हम ही लोग नहीं सुन रहे थे, वो बार बार कह रहा था कि 10th सेंचुरी में रशियन ऑर्थोडॉक्स चर्च में कोई बैप्टाइज हुआ, वो कोई वाल्डेमार नाम का था, वो वहां का प्रिंस बन गया, और वो 10वीं सदी के बैप्टिज्म की वजह से यूक्रेन इज पार्ट ऑफ रशिया। तो मॉडर्न यूक्रेन एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता है, वो सब तो लेनिन की वजह से हुआ। ये जो, चलो पुतिन कह रहा है, लेकिन हमारे देश में जो फैशिज्म से लड़ रहे हैं, हमारे देश में जो संघ के रिलीजियस बेसिस ऑफ नेशनलिज्म के खिलाफ बोल रहे हैं, सबसे लीडिंग इंटेलेक्चुअल्स में मैं एग्जांपल दे रही हूं एन राम का, लीडिंग जर्नलिस्ट, टॉप जर्नलिस्ट। February 22nd को 2 days before the invasion, the first 1 year of the invasion, वो गए रशियन कंसुलेट में चेन्नई, तो वहां उन्होंने कहा कि भाई यूक्रेन और रशिया में जो हिस्टोरिक टाइज हैं वो रशियन ऑर्थोडॉक्स चर्च के इतिहास से चला आ रहा है, और ये जेलेंस्की कौन होता है, उसका रेजीम, जेलेंस्की रेजीम कौन होता है टू सेवर दोस टाइज, टू कट दोस टाइज अलोंग विथ रिएक्शनरी फोर्सेस। ये पढ़ के मतलब आप, ये कुछ ऐसा है कि जैसे अमेरिका में कोई बैठ करके अगर कल बोलेगा कि ये बताइए भारत जो है वो हमेशा हमेशा से हिंदू देश रहा है, और ये कौन होते हैं ये अर्बन नक्सल की आकर के इतने रिएक्शनरी फोर्सेस के साथ, कांग्रेस जो है वो अर्बन नक्सलों के साथ मिला करके वो हिंदू देश में हिंदू फोबिया फैला है। आप इसको सुनेंगे तो you'll laugh at that. You'll say, what nonsense. But what Mr. N. Ram just said is as preposterous. It is as shameful. और आप, मुझे ये लगता है कि जिसको अखंड भारत का प्रोजेक्ट और हिंदू राष्ट्र का प्रोजेक्ट समझ में आ रहा है, क्यों नहीं अखंड रशिया का प्रोजेक्ट समझ में नहीं आ रहा, क्यों क्रिश्चियन रशिया का प्रोजेक्ट समझ में नहीं आ रहा। ये बात एक सोचने की बात है। और यहां मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि अभी अभी हिंदू राष्ट्र के बारे में अक्टूबर लास्ट ईयर में मोहन भागवत ने स्पीच दिया, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि भाई हिंदू राष्ट्र की जो गाड़ी है, द कार इज एक्सेलरेटिंग, बिना इसमें ब्रेक है ही नहीं, इसमें सिर्फ एक्सेलरेटर है, पेडल है ही नहीं ब्रेक का, इट इज ओनली एन एक्सेलरेटर, एंड यू कैन आइदर कम एंड सिट इन द कार विद अस, आप मेरे साथ बैठ जाइए, एंड इफ नॉट देन अगर आप रास्ते में, इफ यू हैपन टू कम इन अ वे यू विल बी क्रश्ड, रास्ते में आ जाइए तो गाड़ी आपके ऊपर चला जाए। नॉट न्यू, मोदी बोला ही था कि भाई पपीज, इफ पपीज कम अंडर द कार आई डोंट केयर, द सेम थिंग, एक्सेलरेटिंग कार इज गोइंग टू गो टुवर्ड्स हिंदू राष्ट्र। So I think that we who are trying to fight that Hindu Rashtra, in spite of being threatened by being crushed by that car, we are not accepting that as some given. In the same way, we should not be asking Ukraine to say, please surrender to this accelerating car of Russian imperialism because, it's nicer for the whole world. It's just very, it's just very annoying that you people are going on fighting, prolonging this war. पूरे दुनिया को बहुत परेशानी हो रहा है, आप प्लीज बंद कर लीजिए लड़ना। तो ये कुछ वैसा है। और ये भी सोचने की बात है कि when you support that kind of अखंड रशिया or Christian Russia project, you are enabling, you are emboldening those who are fighting for Akhand Bharat here. You're making it normal in the world. Likewise, if you don't protest against China saying, Islam has to be of Chinese character inside China, then you are emboldening, you are allowing, you are creating a normalcy for RSS to say Muslims have to be Indianized and Indian culture is Hindu culture. So I think that, and the other thing is, that we need to, so what is democracy that we fight for? We should be rejecting this binary of, जैसे रामजादा हरामजादा, वैसे रशिया का है कि भाई आप या तो रशियन है या आप नाजी हैं और शैतान है। अगर आप अपने आप को यूक्रेनियन कहते हैं, then you are a Nazi, you are a शैतान। Exactly like Golwalkar said, that if you identify as Tamil, if you identify as Dalit or OBC or a woman, you are टुकड़े टुकड़े, आप तो टुकड़े टुकड़े हैं, indivisible Indian whole है। आप अपने आप को पाकिस्तानी कह सकते हैं, कैसे कह सकते हैं, बांग्लादेशी, अफगान कैसे कह सकते हैं, नेपाली कैसे कह सकते हैं, ये सब टुकड़े टुकड़े हैं, ये सब इट्स ऑल, तो वन होल इज हिंदू राष्ट्र विच इज अखंड। ओके, सो ये चीजें समझने की बात है कि दुनिया में जो लड़ाई है और हमारे यहाँ जो लड़ाई है वो अलग अलग लड़ाई नहीं है, और एक लड़ाई को हम कमजोरी से लड़ेंगे तो हम अपनी लड़ाई को भी कमजोर करेंगे। एंड so I'm going to take whatever little time I have left to make 5 points, 5 brief points in front of you. The first thing I'm going to say, I know there are various false binaries which I'm going to, reject. So the first I'm going to say, again very provocative, I'm going to say we should drop the binary of capitalism versus socialism. I know there's going to be a huge outcry tomorrow on social media, whatever in the bubble that we live in. But I'm going to say it nevertheless. मैं क्यों कह रही हूँ कि कैपिटलिज्म बनाम सोशलिज्म की बात रहने दीजिए. मैं इसलिए कह रही हूँ because we should not be talking about systems. We should not be asking ourselves, is this system better or that system better? Is this system less bad and that system more bad? Which is the lesser evil between this and that? Doesn't matter. The point is we should be talking about human beings, not systems. We should be talking about what are the minimum standards which allow human beings to make democracy every day. बर्टोल्ट ब्रेश ने कहा था कि सिर्फ ब्रेड की जरूरत नहीं, ब्रेड ऑफ जस्टिस होना चाहिए. सिर्फ रोटी नहीं, न्याय की रोटी. You want bread? Also bread of justice. Equally. Both are needed every day. So people are not allowed to exercise democracy on one day. That election or revolution. Those are the two times you have the chance to say or do something. And rest of the time, you just, agree to whatever the government says. The state is going to say, I am acting on your behalf, and you just say, yes, sir. No, democracy is something that is made every day. When people organize, when they argue with each other, when they protest, when they are loud and unruly, and when they make mistakes. Every mistake that people make when they are trying to do something better, that will lead to something, they'll learn from that. But it cannot be a state which says, I'm going to do all the decisions, good decision, bad decision, sab kuch I'm going to decide whether or not people agree. That is not something we should be interested in. So whether it is in capitalism or in whatever calls itself socialism, why should we say, everywhere we should say how democratic is it? तो कितना लड़ने की जगह है बेहतर दुनिया बनाने के लिए. कोई नहीं कह रहा है कि liberal, when I say liberal democracy, people say, that means, you're saying that's it, end of history. Liberal democracy is the maximum. No, liberal democracy is the barest minimum. It's the absolute rock bottom. But the point is that if you take away that rock bottom, then what are you leaving people with? At least वहां से लोग build करें, ज्यादा democracy के लिए लड़ते जाए. लड़ने की जगह है कि नहीं? अगर लड़ने के नाम पे पहले क्रांति हो जाए और क्रांति के बाद लड़ने का डब्बा बंद कर दिया जाए, अब नहीं लड़ सकते. तो हम सत्ता में है ना, तो आप सत्ता में. आप कहोगे नहीं, but I don't think you're doing the right thing doing, you're an enemy of the state. That should not be the case. That's it. So that's the first binary which I want to get rid of. The other is the binary between common good and individual good. कि larger common good and individual. ये भी बहुत फेमिलियर है. ये भी इससे पहले वाले बाइनरी से जाके जुड़ता है, जहां कहते हैं कि भाई समाजवाद तो सबके लिए काम करता है. चाइना तो बताइए खाना खिला रहा है, शेल्टर दे रहा है, गरीबी मिटा रहा है, और इंडिया में ये सारी चीजें नहीं है. So the point is that if people are able to have food and shelter and medicine and so on, then obviously they are doing something for the common good. So what if some individual rights are violated? Likewise, you will have people in America saying all the individual rights. So what if people don't have food and medicine and this and that? But the point is that this is a completely false binary. बात ये है कि अगर मेरा पेट नहीं भरा तो मैं क्या बढ़िया से एक बेटर फ्यूचर के लिए, एक बेटर दुनिया के लिए लड़ पाऊंगी? मेरा पेट ही नहीं भरा है, मेरे बच्चे का पेट नहीं भरा है. मैं उसका पहले सोचूंगी कि मैं कैसे आगे का सोचूं, मेरा इमेजिनेशन, मेरा दुनिया कैसे होना चाहिए, बेहतर दुनिया के लिए लड़ने लायक मैं तो बच नहीं रही हूं. Somehow even if I fight, I will be fighting to eat. Beyond that food, it's difficult for me to imagine anything. Absolutely true. But you tell me, अगर मेरा पेट भरा, if my stomach is full, if I don't have hunger, what should I do with my energy? I'm getting really good food. बढ़िया सा मेरा पेट भरा है. मुझे क्या सोचना चाहिए? मुझे तो ये सोचना चाहिए कि अब मेरा पेट भरा है, अब मैं सोच सकती हूँ कि मुझे कैसी दुनिया चाहिए. I will have the time to make a union, to organize, to argue with my comrades and friends, and to form another party, and to basically think my own ideas and work on those ideas. On the other hand, if you are told कि भाई choose between food and freedom, I gave you food, now don't ask for freedom. How dare you ask for freedom? You're already free. हम तो freedom में रह रहे हैं. भाई आपने कैसे कह दिया भाई China is a free country? How dare you say you're not free? We are already free. हम तो freedom जीत चुके हैं. ये अगर कोई कहेगा कि खाने को दे रहे हैं इसलिए जो है वो माने freedom का भूख मत करो, ये गलत है. Justice and bread of justice, equally important. So I think that the daily participation of people, it's not about what kind of state, what the state can call itself anything. Nazis call themselves socialist. Okay? So we should not be worrying about what is the name. We should be worrying about what are people able to do there or not do there. That's the big issue. And तीसरा binary जो है वो है national versus international. तो कहीं हमारा national priority और international duty. तो इंटरनेशनल चीज हमारे नेशनल प्रायोरिटी को गड़बड़ न कर दे. टोटली फॉल्स बाइनरी. क्यों? क्योंकि ये जो इंटरनेशनल और नेशनल वाली बात है ये एक्चुअली हमारी सॉलिडारिटी को बहुत कमजोर करता है. एंड बिकॉज इट वीकन्स आवर सॉलिडारिटी, इट वीकन्स आवर फाइट इन आवर ओन कंट्री एज वेल. व्हाई इज दैट? इट इज बिकॉज जस्ट थिंक अबाउट सॉलिडारिटी फॉर अ मोमेंट. इफ आई से इट्स वेरी सिंपल. We should all be able to say that we are on the side of people fighting for democracy against any oppressor. Equally so, जिस भी एक उत्पीड़न के खिलाफ आप लड़ रहे हो, दुनिया में कहीं भी लड़ रहे हो, मेरे पास खुले दिल से आपके लिए सपोर्ट होना चाहिए. मैं आपके लिए क्या कर सकता हूं पूछ के, I should do whatever I can to work for you. Instead, if I say, and that's what internationalism was supposed to mean, right? इंटरनेशनलिज्म में कंडीशंस अप्लाई करके नीचे नहीं लिखा हुआ है. वेर यू से दैट इंटरनेशनलिज्म या बट इफ आई फाइंड टाइम फ्रॉम माय नेशनल प्रायोरिटी, इंटरनेशनलिज्म गुड, बट यू नो सो सॉरी आई से दैट आई एम विथ यू, बट योर ऑप्रेसर हैपेंस टू बी माय ऑप्रेसर्स फ्रेंड्स एनिमी. गॉट दैट? इट साउंड्स लाइक एज डिफिकल्ट एज एक्सप्लेनिंग वो तमिल में वो जो रिलेशनशिप्स है, किसका कजिन का किसके साथ क्या है, वो वैसा ही है. आपका दुश्मन मेरे दुश्मन के दोस्त का दुश्मन है, इसलिए मैं नहीं लड़ सकता आपसे उतना ज्यादा. मैं आपसे सॉलिडारिटी इतना दूंगा, उतना तक नहीं दूंगा. आपकी जीत के लिए मैं नहीं काम करूंगा. आई विल नॉट वर्क फॉर योर विक्ट्री, बिकॉज यू नो इफ यू विन देन मेरे दुश्मन का दोस्त का दुश्मन कमजोर हो जाएगा और उससे मेरा दुश्मन मजबूत हो जाएगा. दिस इज अ वियर्ड कैलकुलेशन. हु डज दैट? इट्स सो कैन यू मेक सेंस? इस पे सड़क पे जाके किसी को बोल के देखो, कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? व्हाट कंप्लीट नॉनसेंस. वी शुड सिंपली बी एबल टू से दैट द विक्ट्री फॉर एनी पीपल इन वन प्लेस इज विक्ट्री फॉर अस ऑल. द इनजस्टिस फॉर वन पर्सन इज इनजस्टिस फॉर अस ऑल. And what used to be good about the left before it got broken was that it was able to say this simply. तो रोटी न्याय की रोटी भ्रष्ट क्यों बोल सकते थे? क्योंकि वो उस मिजाज के थे, तो वो इतना सिंपली बोल पाए. और आज हम नाप तोल रहे हैं कि भाई कितना जस्टिस, कितना ब्रेड, कितना ये, कितना वो. क्या है, क्या मतलब है इसका? और द नेक्स्ट वन which I want to talk about is वेस्ट वर्सेस द रेस्ट. तो ये जो चीज है कि वेस्ट वर्सेस रेस्ट, whenever we see this in our own way, we who are fighting for democracy, I'm not just saying left, anybody, if we think about the world as west versus rest, we are helping those tyrants like Putin who try to say that they are the rest fighting against the west. So whether we say it or whether America says it or whatever, these are equally helping Putin. We should stop saying that. Everybody should stop saying that. Instead of this binary, the truth is something different. The truth is that we should be able to recognize oppression wherever we see it. We should, instead of trying to say that, just give me a second, one second. So instead of trying to say that, West is better or non-West is better, we should be able to see the connection between Trump in America and Putin in Russia and Modi in India. Xi Jinping in China. There are many connections if we allow ourselves to see it. But if we put a formula first and we try to fit the facts to that formula, then we can't succeed. हम नहीं कर पाएंगे ठीक से. और इसमें जो सामने है उसको सामने सरल शब्दों में बोलने का, just naming a spade, this should be our strength, this should be our absolutely our trademark. So for instance, let me tell you कि this whole business about internal and external, about national and international, the problem with that is that any internal lack of democracy is actually doing both internal harm and external harm. मैं उदाहरण देती हूँ आपको, एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ कि मानो चाइना जो कर रहा है, उइगरों के साथ वो कंसंट्रेशन कैंप में डाल रहा है और कह रहा है मैं वॉर ऑन टेरर कर रहा हूँ. ये भी तो आपका वेस्ट वर्सेस रेस्ट कहां से है भाई? वेस्ट की भाषा चाइना बोल रहा है. You are saying when I criticize China, I'll be told that no, you're speaking of imperialist language. But China is speaking an imperialist language by saying I can lock people up because they had a dadi because of war on terror. Who is talking the language of war on terror? China is. Xi is. So our inability to call a spade a spade. The other thing is that what damage does China's damage, I know many of my friends who criticize China. But if you notice, they'll say everything about China. बहुत खराब है, ये किया, वो किया. But वो वहां जाके रुक जाएंगे कि चाइना ये सारी गलतियां, how much do they damage socialism in China? इससे जो है वो माओ का सपना कितना नीचे गिर गया, सोशलिज्म कितना खराब हुआ, कितना नहीं खराब. मुझे हो सकता है इससे परेशानी, मैं लेफ्ट की हूं, ठीक है, it matters to me. What does it matter to the person being killed in a concentration camp or locked up in a jail and never going to see the light of day, whether it is being done in the name of socialism or not? What difference does it make to them? So we should be, this whole idea, we should be able to call China, describe the Chinese state in terms of the harm it does. It is not enough to say, okay, it's state capital. USSR के बारे में भी यही हुआ. बहुत सारे ट्रॉट्स्कीइस्ट वो यही कहते थे कि चलो वो सोशलिज्म है ही नहीं, वो तो स्टेट कैपिटलिज्म है. So if it is state capitalism, then I don't have to worry about it. It's not my responsibility anymore. I've given it a label and now I can forget about it. But what is its impact on people in the Eastern Europe? What is China's impact in our neighborhood? We're not talking about that. So we should talk about it. We should say it's an authoritarian state. I'm going to do something very naughty. I'm going to share with you a phrase which I found very funny, which was, my very dear comrades and friends have just used it about China. After पूरा गिना दिया कितनी खराब चीजें चाइना ने किया. After that they are saying, China is slowly growing into a capitalism with Chinese characteristics. अरे यार, मतलब चाइनीज को क्यों गाली दे रहे हो? चाइनीज बेचारे ने क्या किया है? चाइनीज जो है वो चाउमीन है, चाइनीज उस तरह से आप कर रहे हैं जैसे मतलब आप कह रहे हैं ना, लाइक यू आर सेइंग चाइनीज चाउमीन. You are saying Chinese capitalism. Why are you associating the people with that form? Instead, you should be saying this whole idea that how much capitalism is there and how much socialism is there. It is like saying how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, which the medieval monks used to debate that. Stalin जो है वो 70% socialism था, 30% anti-democracy. What is this nonsense? किसको वो गणित से मतलब है? You say what is the harm that is being done, and you should, if you're talking about China, you should say it is not an ordinary capitalism. Ordinary capitalism जो है वो आपका अमेरिका में है. अमेरिका में भी हमारे यहाँ भी जो कैपिटलिज्म है, fascists are trying to make it fascist. But it is not an ordinary capitalism in China. It is a capitalism, if at all you want to say something, say it's a capitalism with fascist characteristics. Say it's a capitalism with Islamophobic characteristics. It's a capitalism with imperialist characteristics. That is how you should describe it, if at all. The final point that I want to make is about villains versus heroes. तो हमारे जो कहानियां हैं उसको बहुत पसंद करते हैं. तो उसमें विलन होते हैं हमारे स्क्रिप्ट में और हीरोज होते हैं. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर हम विलन और हीरो तय कर दें पहले से, So sometimes the facts don't fit our story. What do we do then? Say America. America talks about, oh, we are the bastion of democracy. कितना बढ़िया लोकतंत्र रहे हैं. मैं, if you want to, one person whom I deeply admire these days and I enjoy listening to because he's very, he makes you think, is the historian Timothy Snyder. So he keeps saying this, that this is when America tells itself a story that we've always been a democracy. When EU nations tell themselves, oh, we were wise countries. After the World War, we decided peace was better and we stopped waging war. He says, no, you all were empires and you waged wars till you lost them. आप तब तक वॉर करते रहे जब तक आप हारे. और आप डेमोक्रेसी कहाँ थे? अमेरिका में डेमोक्रेसी कहाँ था जब आपका सेग्रीगेशन था, स्लेवरी था, ये सारी चीजें आपका अभी जाके खत्म हुआ, तो उसमें आप कहाँ की डेमोक्रेसी? दूसरा फेरी टेल ये है जो हम अपने आप को कहते हैं कि भाई स्टालिन हीरो, हिटलर विलन, और किसी ने अगर गलती से कुछ कह दिया तो हमको पहले मियां कल्पा कहना पड़ेगा कि स्टालिन को हम क्रिटिसाइज तो कर रहे हैं, इज नॉट एज बैड एज हिटलर. बिकॉज तलवार बांध के बैठे हुए लोग कहने के लिए कि कंपेयर कर दिया स्टालिन और हिटलर को. मैं ये कह रही हूं, हिटलर से कम बुरा होना, it's a very low bar, okay? To say I'm a little bit better than Hitler. Please, is that your USP? That's going to be your marketing campaign. What on earth? Okay, that's your PR campaign. Please. And how is that any point? Which is why I'm saying instead of making it a competition, who's more democratic, who is more, who is better, all of that, it shouldn't be that. It should be about what kind of harm is done. And if we say, and I'm nearing the end, I'm presuming I'm near the, or have I crossed the half an hour mark?
Yeah, of course.
I have crossed it, I'm so sorry. I will finish up right now. So I just want to say that, look, history is something we should learn from. And if we want, this is my last word, if we want America to stop, the American far right says we won't teach racism in our colonialism or history, or slavery in our classrooms. बात गई, बीत गई, ठीक है, पुरानी बात है, उसको मत ये करें. तो रात गई, बात गई. So the people who are fighting against racism there are demanding, no, you have to teach this in your schools because that will keep democracy alive. Talking about it today does not mean that you are going to weaken our nation or our country and our democracy today. Similarly, we want the Sangh Parivar and those who are, we want not Sangh Parivar, but we want people in India to confront our complicated history and not make it a simple story about Muslims versus Hindus, right? So how can we do that? If we are not willing to visit our lovely fairy tale of Stalin defeated Hitler in the Great Patriotic War and how wonderful. And after all, so what in 1930s if he killed a few million people? Because had he not done that, had he not starved a few million people, USSR wouldn't have been strong enough to defeat Hitler. We have no idea who would have defeated or not defeated. We do know, however, we tell this beautiful story कि fascism के बारे में डिमिट्रोफ ने बताया कैसे लड़ना है. बहुत अच्छा. क्या आप ये भी मान रहे हैं कि भाई वही डिमिट्रोफ जब स्टालिन और हिटलर का पैक्ट हो गया 1939 में, भागे भागे मॉस्को गया और पूछा मैं कैसे समझाऊं पूरे कॉमिंटर्न को. उसको कहा गया तुम जाके समझा दो कि कल तक हम कह रहे थे दैट fascism is not ordinary imperialism or capitalism and everybody has to unite to fight it. आप ना अभी वापस जाके बोलो नहीं ये imperialisms में लड़ाई. Hitler is invading a series of countries. It's just a fight between imperialisms and communists have to watch. Total confusion on all sides. Comintern countries don't know what to do. Our friends in India also were confused on that account only, 1942 confusion. But there were some brave people. If we are talking about bravery and anti-fascism, talk about the Dutch communists, who in spite of this diktat from the Comintern said go to hell, and they held one of the only non-Jewish demonstrations and strikes in the port of Amsterdam, against the segregation and deportation of Jews. They were the only non-Jews to do that. And they paid for it. Most of them were arrested, possibly killed. They were courageous enough to do that. You know, standing up to your friends is sometimes requires more courage than standing up to your enemies. Standing up to enemies is easy because you have a lot of crowd behind you. Standing up to your friends, not that easy. So I just wanted to say that, you know, we should be confronting our real history, and we should stop, sort of think about our world without the false binaries. We don't have all the answers. It's scary to not have the answers, to not be sure, but it is better than imagining that you have all the answers and then silencing inconvenient questions.